I'm about to get this BMW E36 back on the road after it was completely abandoned. But there's a few things I need to repair first. That's because when I attempted to drive this car for the first time, it didn't exactly go to plan. Oh no, we're overheating. At first, the car drove great, but after a while, it overheated and threw up a bunch of faults on the dashboard. So today, I've got to fix it. Right, let's get this car back on the road once and for all. The first problem I need to take care of is this engine is currently overheating, and that's no good for nobody. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be the thermostat. It's just bubbling over this side of the cooling system and it's not cooling down the engine. I think the thermostat is stuck closed. Now, on these cars, the thermostat is right down here in between the viscous fan and the engine. So we've got to do a little bit of work to get to that thermostat. We've got to take the housing off, then replace that thermostat. But to get to it all, we need to remove this viscous fan. So all of these plastic shroudings got to come off, the fan's got to come off. So we've got a 32mm spanner, and yeah, hopefully it comes off nice, because I'm guaranteeing this has never been changed. So let's see what we can do. First job is to remove this plastic piece. Not only does this cover the top of the radiator, but it also doubles up as an air intake. It feeds cold air into the airbox. Now that's out the way, I can attempt to remove the viscous fan. For this, I need a 32mm spanner to loosen it, but at the same time, I've got to jam a pry bar between the bolts for the water pump pulley to stop it from spinning. Putting this BMW back together is like a big puzzle game, trying to remember where everything went. And while I'm on the subject of games, imagine if you could get paid to actually play them. Well, you actually can, and I'm not even joking. You can get paid to play games, test games, and also answer surveys, and that is through an app called TesterUp. TesterUp has over 4-star reviews on the Apple Store and on Trustpilot. There's literally loads of games you can play, and it even tells you what tasks you need to complete while playing that game to earn the most amount of money. And once you've finished and you've earned your money, they'll literally send it to either your bank account or your PayPal account within 24 hours. And the best part is it's literally free to download and play. And for those that aren't actually taking me seriously, check out my account and how much money I've actually made just by testing, answering and playing all these games. You can earn real money by doing this because developers want their games testing and they're happy to pay you to do it. So like always, I'll leave the link in the description down below for TesterUp, or you can scan the QR code on the screen now and you can get playing games and earning money. Right, let's get back to my big puzzle game of this BMW. Got it. Now I can unscrew it from the water pump pulley, and you've probably already noticed that I'm actually unscrewing this by tightening it. That's because these are reverse threaded. There we go. Look at that. That is disgusting. Right, that should now give us better access to the thermostat. Does this fully come off? Yes, it does. Here we go, we're getting somewhere. Now that's out the way, I've got way better access to that thermostat housing, which is held in by 4 bolts, 3 10mm and 1 40mm. And once that's loose, that should reveal the thermostat behind it. Yeah, there's no coolant at all coming out of that. Although on the outside that thermostat did look fine, inside them they have a wax-filled element that expands and contracts with temperature changes to the control valve. So although it looks fine, it could have easily failed internally. So now I'm going to replace it with the brand new one, and of course replace that O-ring. Put that back in place. Now I can get the thermostat housing back in place and secure it with them 4 bolts. Okay, that's the thermostat all swapped over. Brand new thermostat is inside of the housing, and The reason I'm now convinced that it is the thermostat stuck shut is because when I took the thermostat out, there was literally no coolant come out of the engine block at all. So I think I can bleed it without the viscous fan being back on. So before I carry on, in case this does leak or anything like that, I'm going to put the viscous fan on once I know that it's doing what it should be. So let's bleed it. For these cars, there's a correct bleeding procedure that I'll find out a little bit later. For now, I just thought it was like any other car, so I just filled up the radiator, ran the car up to temperature in hopes that any air would find its way up and out of the rad cap. And once I've done that, it's time to test if it was the thermostat actually stuck closed. We're at temperature and we're staying at temperature. The blowers, I won't call them hot, would you?
No.
I wouldn't call them hot, but as far as I know, this is how you bleed one of these cars. So let's just see if it overheats again. Let's just try it. So I went and tested it again, and yes, even if you don't have a valid MOT certificate or road tax, you can still drive a car on the road as long as you have a pre-booked MOT appointment. So I booked it in for an MOT and took it for a test drive. Yeah, these wheels and tyres are way too big for this car. Yeah, we're overheating again. We're overheating again. And because I'd had the car running up to temperature, this time it didn't even make it off the industrial estate. Yeah, look, it's starting to overheat again. As soon as you drive it, it starts overheating. I don't get why. Oh, that's the warning for the lights. Still overheating. Now, we've got a few options. I'm going to let the car cool down and then I'm going to take the thermostat out again, or I think I'm going to take out a few of the hose pipes and run pressured water through them to see if there's a big kind of clump of dirt or anything that's stopping the coolant getting into the engine side, because the engine's got no coolant in it and the matrix, which is inside the car, they're not getting hot either, so there's something definitely wrong. If not, then it could just be the water pump, which they're not the end of the world on these cars. They're right down here at the front and they pretty much bolt to that viscous fan. So for now, I've just got to let the car cool down and then we'll run some water through it and see if anything comes out. So while I'm letting the car cool down, I might as well move on to repairing one of the other things that has gone wrong with this car. I thought it was repaired in the last video, but the problem has come back, and that is the brake lights staying on. If I turn the ignition on, as you can see, these brake lights are just constantly on, and no one's pressing the pedal, no one's pushing the brake pedal, and they're just constantly on. So you'd have probably seen in the last video, I thought I'd fix the brake light switch, but it clearly isn't. So we've got a solution, and that is this. This is a brand new brake light switch, and this is going to replace the old one, which I'm pretty sure is just broken, and these are kind of pressurized, so when the brake pedal is pushed down, this is released, and when it's released, that puts the lights on, and when it's pressured, it turns them off. So we've got to take out the old one and replace it with a new one. Let's get this repair taken care of. To get access to the brake light switch, there's a panel in the driver's footwell. That needs to be removed. So after I've taken it out with the 3 screws holding it in place, I can get the old switch out and the new one in and just hope that this solves the problem. If it doesn't, it could be a wiring issue that might take me ages to find. So again, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Right, new switch is in. Let's see if it's worked. I think it has. The lights aren't on. Let me know if they come on.
Yeah.
Yeah? They're working good. Right, so that's one job we can tick off the list for the MOT. Right, let me put all this back together. Okay, the coolant is now cooled down, and it's time to try and flush anything that might be in the engine or matrix out. So I'm going to take the thermostat housing off again, remove the thermostat, and then we'll push the car outside and run some water through. So I'm removing the thermostat housing and also the thermostat, and what I want to find out is if the cooling system has any unwanted blockages inside. If it does, that could be stopping the coolant from making its complete cycle. So we're putting water through every possible pipe in hopes that it comes back out of all of the coolant hoses. We even took off the heater core hose and fed water through that, and it seems like nothing at all is blocked. Every time we put water in, it's coming out as clear as it went in, so it looks like the cooling system is absolutely fine. Okay, we've got a little bit of a verdict. So we've flushed the hose through the top of the radiator. That then goes down to this coolant pipe down here. It goes back into the engine, around the engine, and it comes out of where the thermostat would be. So what would happen is the coolant gets to a certain temperature, that thermostat opens, allows it to come out into this hose that goes down into there, it gets cooled through the radiator and repeats the cycle. Now, we knew that was kind of working, so we've took the thermostat out and we've ran the hose through here and it comes out back through where the thermostat would be. We've done it the opposite way. We've pretty much tried every single variation of where coolant would pass around this engine bay / cooling system. We even back here took the coolant pipes off the heater core and ran water through that as well, and it did the exact same. It came out where the thermostat would be. So we know that there's no blockages or anything stopping the coolant making its rounds. There's only two things left that it could be. One is the water pump and the other is this valve down here. This is the heater control valve. Now, I'm not sure how common they are to fail in, so I think it would be a little bit stupid to not do a water pump anyway. So that's the first thing I'm going to try. That as well, if you look at this belt down here, that belt has definitely seen better days. So that's got to be replaced anyway, so the belt's got to come off. So next stop is that water pump. Okay, let's get this water pump out. First, I need to take off the drive belt. To get it off, I'm just going to undo the bolts for the water pump pulley and take them both off at the same time. Now it's time to remove the water pump itself, so I'm taking out the 4 bolts holding it to the engine block, and to separate it from the block I'm screwing 2 10mm bolts in either side of the water pump to push it away from the engine, and eventually it comes out. Well, that's the old water pump off, and there's no real telltale signs as to if that's bad or not. I guess the only way to find out is to install the new one and see if we can bleed it up properly. We could still be not bleeding the cooling system up properly, but at least we've put a new water pump on it. And I'm pretty sure, unless someone's bought an OEM one, this is the original one. It is definitely a BMW part, and the outside kind of matches the age of the engine block. So let's get the new one in. Getting the new one in is of course the reverse way of taking it out, so I'm refitting the 4 bolts for the pump itself, and then I can fit the other 4 bolts for the pulley, and as easy as that, that's the water pump changed. Now I'm on to getting the brand new belt installed, but to do this I've got to take off the AC belt, so once that's out of the way I can install the new belt, then refit the AC belt, and that is the job complete. Let's just hope it works. Right, the belts are back on, the new water pump is in, but we found a little bit of an issue that I think could correspond to why it's overheating. If you look at the thermostat housing in the middle, I don't know how well that comes across in camera, it's like all broken off in the middle. So obviously the seal isn't going to seal properly. We can't get a thermostat housing until tomorrow. So just to see if that water pump has worked, we're going to just put a bit of sealant over where this has broken, put it all back together and try and bleed the car with water and see if that works. If it does, then we know that we can go and grab the new thermostat housing, put it all back together, and everyone is happy and the car is working properly. So that's the plan. Let's put some sealant on it. We could wait until tomorrow for the new housing, but there's no fun in that for anyone. So for the sake of finding out if it's worked, we're using some silicone to fill in that gap, and I can reinstall the thermostat and the thermostat housing. Now we can top up the coolant and repeat the bleeding procedure and just hope that this has worked. And it wasn't long until we found out. And as per usual, it's overheating. And there's no hot air coming out them vents. So weird, that, innit? Like, that's so bizarre. What else can that even be? But then we realised that the entire time I could have been bleeding the coolant system completely wrong. On these cars, it isn't just a matter of topping up the coolant and running them up to temperature. You have to top the radiator tank up bit by bit and leave the bleed screw undone until the level stays the exact same. Then tighten the radiator cap and leave the car to get up to temperature, and eventually what should happen is air and coolant should start coming out of that bleed screw, and once it's a continuous flow of coolant with no bubbles, that should be the car bled correctly and the heaters should start blowing hot. And eventually it actually worked. The car actually got to operating temperature and even dropped. It's gone back down.
It's red hot, that.
They're red hot now. I guess all this time it was just an airlock in the system because I didn't know how to actually bleed this car properly. I didn't need to replace all of them parts, but at least now it's brand new and I know that they've been sorted and I don't have to worry about them in the future. Okay, so we've figured out how to actually bleed the cooling system properly, and the heaters are now blowing hot and the car is staying at temperature, which is good. It turns out I probably didn't need a water pump and I probably didn't need a thermostat, but it's something that's done now and it doesn't cost a lot of money to do on these cars. So now we've got to drain all the coolant because the new thermostat housing has arrived. So at least now we know how to actually bleed it. So I'm going to take the old one off, put the new one on, and then we're on to the last final little bits before we can actually take it on the road. So once again, I'm going to take the thermostat housing off. This time disconnecting it from the two radiator hoses, and then I can replace it with the new one. Now I can get the new one back in position and then I can start actually bleeding this car up properly with proper coolant. Here we go, moment of truth. Heaters on the maximum heat and the fan on the lowest setting is what these apparently like. Right, let's wait for it to bleed. So now that the radiator cap is closed and fully tight, I can undo that little bleed screw and just wait bit by bit for it to bleed out through that little nipple. Then once I can see continuous flow of coolant, I can then shut it off, let the car continue to idle, and then a little bit later I can undo that bleed screw and let that excess air out. And that should be the cooling system bled. Okay, I think we're good. I've got heat coming through the vents. It's staying at temperature, it's not overheating. So what I'm going to do is leave it to idle for a little bit longer, let it properly circulate and build up enough pressure, and then let it cool down a little bit, undo that bleed screw, and hopefully a little bit of air should release. Then I can tighten it and that should be the cooling system bled completely, and then it shouldn't overheat. But it's getting exciting now. I've just got these lights to take care of. Why they've come up I don't know, but I've got to figure them out. So once this is bled, we can crack on with them. I'm getting excited. Right, it's been about 20 minutes. Let's let a little bit of air out, and that is what you want to see when it's just flowing with coolant, and that is the cooling system properly bled. I was really starting to think that it could have been the head gasket, and maybe that would have been the reason that this car was stopped being used. But luckily, it's all bled up properly and it's staying at temperature. Hopefully when I drive it again, it doesn't overheat, but for now I can reinstall that viscous fan, remembering to tighten it anti-clockwise, and then refit the plastic surround. And of course, that plastic shroud for the air intake. That is now everything engine side all complete. Now we're on to the faults on the dashboard, which I have no idea why these have randomly just came up after driving it for the first time, but it's something that we've got to sort. So we have got a traction control light, an ABS light, and also an airbag light. I think the best thing to do is plug this car in to the diagnostics and actually see what it is saying. See if it can tell me which corner maybe the ABS sensor's gone wrong, or which airbag is throwing up the light. So I'm going to plug this car in and actually read what it is telling me. But with this car being a 1998, they don't actually have normal OBD ports to actually plug these cars in and scan them. It is under here, which is pretty cool. So luckily I have got the adapter and I can plug it in and actually see what's going on. Instead of a normal OBD2 port, this car has a 20-pin socket that luckily I have the connector for. So I'm going to connect it to the car and scan it through the diagnostic tool. Hopefully this tells me why the airbag light's on and maybe which corner the ABS has gone wrong. What have we got? Engine system, fuel trim, bank 1, signal sensor, coolant temperature sensor. Hold on, let's read this. Is these current? Status. Airbag, here we go. We have just got, yeah, just airbag fault stored. So if I clear all of these, maybe that is simply because the seats were out when I did the interior. So that may just have needed clearing, as it just told me that that is a stored fault. That might be that one fixed, but we still have this ABS sensor and the traction control light, which unfortunately nothing is actually coming up on the ABS. Well, I don't think this car has actually got a control module for the ABS. I'm not sure how it works, because obviously it's got some sort of electronics because it's on the dashboard, but on here unfortunately it cannot pick it up. So we've got to do a little bit of digging, and I think it makes sense to start with the front two. So I'm getting the front passenger side wheel off. The reason I think it could be the fronts that have gone wrong is because in the last video we had all the suspension components off at the front. So maybe with us using the blowtorch to unseize some of them bolts, the ABS sensor might have got damaged. So let's find out. The passenger side seemed absolutely fine. All the wires were intact, nothing seemed damaged, but of course it could be something internally. So I'm going to move to the driver's side and just see if I can find anything obvious, which once I got the wheel off, it was pretty easy to find. Well, I found the issue. It's quite obvious as well. Oh, it's snapped. Ooh-cha. Oh, it's the ABS sensor's snapped. Oh, okay, that's all right. I thought it was something a bit more sinister. Like, yeah, sinister. Like we're gonna have to search for ages for it.
Need some wire maintenance.
The ABS sensor's snapped. Okay, right. I'm going to order an ABS sensor and we can get this one out. I can only assume that maybe when I'd routed the ABS sensor, I might have done it incorrectly. So when I took it for that first drive, once I've turned a corner, it might have snagged it and completely snapped the wiring. I guess we'll never know. But what I do know is this one needs to come out. And of course, with this being so old, the ABS sensor is seized into the hub. So I've got to try my best to remove it. Yes. Finally. That put up a little bit of a fight, but now it's off. I can replace it with the brand new sensor, plug it in, make sure I've routed it properly, and then I'm going to refit the caliper and brake disc. I took these off so it was a lot easier to try and knock that old sensor out. Now we're pretty much on to the last jobs. I can start refitting the air ducts for the brakes, and then I can get the wheel arches back in place. I'm going to do it to the driver's side and of course the passenger side. That's it, last job's done. All of the arch liners are back in. This ABS sensor is back on, but we still have the lights on the dashboard. But obviously the car's in the air and it's rear wheel drive, so I can't really get the fronts to turn without it still thinking that there's an issue. So we've just got to put the wheels back on now. Now these are the wheels that I've just taken off, and the problem with these is the offset is way too big for this car. They end up rubbing on the arches and they're just way too wide. So we've got a fix, and that is these. These are just off a
I could not actually tell you what they're off, but I don't know whether I'll keep them. I don't know whether I won't. I don't know if they need to be a bit wider for this car, but they fit for now, so we can take it to get an MOT without it scraping and ruining all the arches. So it's time to get the wheels back on, and then I can actually get it back on the road.
This should be the final job until I can actually get this car through an MOT. Once I start driving it and all of the ABS sensors talk to each other, the lights should clear off the dashboard. At least I hope anyway. But now all four wheels are back on, that is the car complete. And after pulling it out of the unit, the lights went off. Now it's time for its MOT.
This is it, ladies and gentlemen. We are finally taking the car for its MOT. Well, at least I hope. I think it's about 15-20 minutes to the MOT station, and hopefully it passes and we can literally have it back on the road and start enjoying it. I actually can't wait. I mean, there's no knocks or bangs, but everything is completely out of alignment. But I can't align it. Well, I can, but I don't want to align it because in the future we've got loads of upgrades for this car, so it don't make sense to align it now and then have to do it again. But here we go again, back on the road. Okay, we're starting to get to temperature. Hopefully this time it stays at temperature. Do you know what? It actually drives pretty well. You can tell that the wheels are pointing the wrong ways on the back and it needs a proper alignment, but it actually drives all right. There's no knocks, there's no bangs, there's no horrible noises, which I hope it shouldn't be because we've just pretty much replaced everything. But it drives pretty well for how old it is and what it's kind of been through. We're just about to get to temperature. Come on, come on. We're at temperature now. And I'm actually pretty close to where it overheated before, so I'm keeping my eye on this needle and I'm just praying that it doesn't overheat. If it does, I must have just bled it wrong because there's nothing else it can be now. So
this car has had a new thermostat, it's had a new water pump, and as far as I know, the coolant is now bled properly. If it overheats, it could be the worst case scenario and maybe it's gonna need a new head gasket. So I'm just keeping my fingers crossed and I'm hoping for the best.
Okay, we're at temperature and it's here where it overheated last time. And as of now, we're staying right where it should be. I don't want to keep I don't want to take my eyes off the temperature gauge, but it is literally right here where we broke down and the police came. So far so good.
The car stayed at temperature, it didn't overheat, and it actually drove pretty good considering how long it's been off the road. But we've got one more hurdle to overcome, and that is if it's going to even pass an MOT. So it wasn't long before I arrived.
I can see the MOT station, I can literally see it. I can literally see the MOT station, and we're still at temperature. I think we're good, ladies and gentlemen. I think the coolant is bled properly and we've just got to hope that it passes now. We've just got to hope that it passes.
That is officially the furthest that this car has been driven in nearly 8 years, and as far as I'm concerned, I don't think there's anything that it should fail on.
That's it. We're here. It's done it. It's done it. Yes!
All I can do now is leave it in the hands of the MOT tester, sit back and keep my fingers crossed.
Well, the BMW has been for its MOT, and I'm happy to announce that it has finally passed after 7 years of being off the road. It is finally back on the road, and
As far as now, it seems pretty good. There's no horrible knocks, there's no horrible bangs. It actually drives pretty good. The alignment is way out. We're gonna have to get that sorted at a later date. But so far, this car has come such a long way from when I bought it. But now we can actually start to enjoy it and start with the modifications, because we've got to be at the Nürburgring in just 2 months to test this car out. So we've still got a long way to go. But as of now, the car is back on the road after all that time. Where we've had all of the rust repaired, that still needs the bodywork to be done and completed for it to look a lot better, because at the moment it just looks a little bit ropey and a little bit like a shed. We've got the side skirts to go on once that's been done, and we've got loads more things to do. We've got the gearbox oil to change, we've got the diff oil to change, and then we can start actually modifying it. I'm not 100% sure on the wheels. I think they might look a little bit too modern for the car. Let me know what you think. Maybe it needs lowering and they need spacing out a bit. I'm not 100% sure on them. But what I am sure on is this car is back on the road, and I couldn't be more proud of what we've achieved with this thing so far. So if you are enjoying the BMW and you're looking forward to us starting to modify this thing, then make sure you drop a like, you drop a comment, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.
You wear a hat they call dad. Me, I'm the dad in a hat. You just like clubbing and clothes. Me, I like afternoon naps. 3, I be missed for the road. My oldest like counting racks. My middle one, she's in a dirt bike. My youngest is just like a mama. The mama loves me and I love her, so if she wants something, it's never a bother. 3 little ladies, my babies, and one.